Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production. I'm your host, John A. Costa. Today is August 19th, 2025. This is episode 119. We're bringing you this tonight. This is going to be a quick one. It's about 9:49. Getting this out late tonight because, of course, this was poker night. So we're going to jump right into it. We are going out live also. I'll do a recorded and shove that out the door in my videos. All right. Today's topic. It's a sad one, but one I think we're going to hear a lot more of. And this is from Australia. Australian cancer rates soar in people 30 to 49 years old. Cancer rates are indeed rising in young Australians, particularly in those aged 30 to 49. While cancer is still more common in older individuals, they're reporting there's a notable increase in diagnosis among younger adults, some with cancers like bowel, pancreatic, prostate cancer showing significant jumps since the year 2000, according to ABC, which ABC is not like American Broadcast Company, it's Australian Broadcast Company. This trend is cause for concern and prompting investigation into the reasons behind this shift. All right, this is in Australia. Bowel cancer has increased 173% in the 30 to 39 age group since 2000. Prostate cancer has increased by 500% in the same age group. Pancreatic cancer has increased by 200%. Liver cancer has increased 150%. Kidney cancer has increased by 85%. Rising rates in other countries, this trend is not unique to Australia, with similar increases being observed in the United States and Britain. Dan Buchanan, an associate professor and co-author on the RxIV paper, said Australia's world-leading rates of early onset bowel cancer were not a good gold medal to have. Yeah, I could say that. He said there was no solid evidence, only guesses at what has changed over time. The cancer registry where the data came from did not capture individual level risk factors, which is a limitation of any type of study. So if you leave pertinent data out, that's never a good sign. Buchanan and his colleagues are attempting to work backwards from the analyzing the tumors to understand the source of the DNA damage. Well, that's what cancer is. It's abnormal cell growth, which is not being generated or being generated by corrupt DNA. And discovered the mechanism rather than just an association driving the disease. In the absence of that knowledge, it's important to raise awareness of the signs and symptoms. So bowel cancer is now the deadliest disease for people aged 25 to 44 in Australia. Julian Wiggins, the chief executive of Bowel Cancer Australia, said he's concerned about the rising early onset cases. Data is now starting to really, unfortunately, confirm what we've been seeing and catching up on. So cancer rates are going up in in Australia, the United States, and Britain at alarming rates. You'd have some people saying that had to do with something with, the COVID vaccine. If this study was from 2019 or 2021 to present, yeah, I'd say that, it could be. in this study, which you couldn't find anywhere, the data, how much of that happened between 2020 and 2025, you know, and capture that data and see what those people all had in common. To go all the way back and say we're going to grab this data from 2020, you're actually, if you're looking for COVID as the culprit or the vaccine or the shot or the jab or whatever you want to call a concoction that they were injecting into people, then you'd have to go back to when they started doing it and get those people and say, when did you get your shot? What dosage did you get? When did you get it? How many times did you have the booster, and the booster? Is it all Moderna? Is it all, one other type of brand, that's causing this problem? And no one knows, but there is a common link. And you'll have people screaming it's the plastic in the food, which I could be right. GMO, it could be a bunch of things that are triggering these higher than normal cancer rates. And when you say higher than normal, to when? And to what was studied and what was looked at? Data is funny because it can be manipulated. And even though I've never been an advocate of the COVID vaccine, I think it was a hoax. Not COVID. COVID was real, absolutely real. But the method for treating it, that was, ridiculous. Men's socks and put them over your face, and like that was going to protect you. The N95, which gave you no protection of anything other than, pollutants. Staying 6 feet apart, being forced to stay in your home. All these things were a control thing, and it was a lidemic. And people did get sick. There's no doubt about it. I got sick from it. Fat guy with a lot of underlying problems. I survived. I had COVID 3 times. 3 times. So did my herd immunity help me? I don't know. Did it have anything to do with it? I know every person that got the shot came down with COVID. And I knew people that didn't get the shot that got COVID. And I know people that never got COVID or never were tested for it. I was tested for it. Now, when I thought I had it, I didn't have it. Went 3 times for the test. Was it a scamdemic? Maybe. I just think it was, like the Hong Kong flu. You have a lot of people in a lot of countries that are living on the edge, that are being kept alive by dramatic means. And if you look at a lot of the death rates in the United States, it was the elderly. And it was people taken out of hospitals and nursing, facilities that had critical care and just shoved into these backwater places, and they didn't have the care and they died. Governor Cuomo sent, up to 50,000 people to their death. And that's me saying that. And was told, hey, these people, they're going to get, I don't care. We got to free up the hospital space. And you know what? Javits Center stayed empty, and the Mercy ships in our harbor in New York stayed empty. Same thing in California. But if this is COVID related, I'd like to see them address it. I don't believe it is. Honestly, I don't believe it is. I think that this has some other culprit, like in our food supplies and water, and just and it could all be back to we got vaccinations when I was a youngin, and no one did any studies on that. I don't know what my immunity sends out to other people who didn't get that type of vaccine back then. Are we spreading stuff around? Are we creating stuff? Don't know. No one looked. No one looked. And no one knew to look. So I don't blame them. They didn't have the technology. They didn't even have the wisdom. All we knew is that, hey, if you got measles, you could go blind or deaf. And, whooping cough could kill you. Scarlet fever was, terrible. You have heart problems. Rheumatic fever, you have heart problems. So, yeah, they started giving shots and started giving stuff, and people stayed healthy. Yeah, that might not have back in the day would have stayed healthy. Thinning out the herd. I hate to say it, but that's the way it works. All right, we're 12 minutes in. Enough with cancer and young people. Going to go back to the Cincinnati beatdown. Remember that? Where two people were ambushed and seven people attacked these people and kicked them and hurt them, and because of it, and it wasn't even an alleged. It was, anything said racially happened minutes after this fight broke out. But a seventh suspect has been indicted in the July 26 Cincinnati beatdown that caused a national firestorm after going viral on social media because the news media wouldn't report it. Just so you know it. Can't have that. Gregory Wright, 32, has been charged with aggravated riot and felony aggravated robbery. According to jail records, his bond on the aggravated riot charge is $50,000 and his bond on the robbery charge is $100,000. Records indicate that he remained in jail as of Monday morning. Specifically, the complaint states that Wright did by force rip the necklace off the victim while he was being assaulted by 4 or more co-defendants, attempting to cause serious physical harm. So this hyena jumped in on the kill, is what happened. Court records from Hamilton County Clerk's office shows that Wright has been arrested 22 times, 22 priors. Some arrests included traffic violations like driving without a license or proper insurance, but some are more serious, like drug trafficking and gun charges. 22 freaking times. And this guy's out on the street. Though plea deals or outright dismissals, Wright has walked on many of these charges. However, in 2014, he was convicted of trafficking heroin, a felony. He pleaded guilty to drug possession in 2016 and was issued a $250 fine. Heroin trafficking, $210 fine. All right. Thank you, Obama. Now, Victoria Parks a Cincinnati council member, under fire for comments she made about the viral videos of the downtown violent attack, saying those who were assaulted begged for that beatdown. She has abruptly quit her position on the county board. She should have been fired. Quit. Bullshit. Adding fuel to the racism this week, Joy Reid, remember her? Former MSNBC host, says white men can't invent anything, as she claims calling Elvis the King is racist in a vile rant. The former MSNBC, and they called her star. She was hardly a star. Blasted Elvis's career as she attacked Donald Trump's planned audit of the Smithsonian Museum. Reid was fired by her old network, MSNBC, in February. And you could see the pattern here. And you can go online and look up the pattern of racism and racist thing that Joy Reid has said, and no one stopped her. No one stopped her. No one fired her. She wasn't fired from her show for being a racist. She was fired because she had horrible ratings. And, people just complained about her. She was, according to insiders, she was difficult to work with. A lot of people are difficult to work with. But you could see from the rhetoric coming from the liberals like this, it's just outrageous, and no one stops any of that from happening. They just continue. They look the other way. Well, no, I don't know. Why is that allowed? Why was that tolerated? Why is she tolerated? And you're going to say, well, freedom of speech. And at the same time, you said, this person couldn't say it over here. So only certain people have this freedom of speech that I hear about, right? The left is full of contradictions, hypocrites. Everything they touch, everything these liberals touch, they just destroy. The idea that Elvis Presley was racist. He wasn't racist. He just took his music from blacks. He didn't appropriate their music. He built upon it. And to say that, white men can't invent anything. Yeah. I see all those beautiful statues made in Africa. The marble and the columns and the big... What? They don't have any? Their beautiful books on their written history is... What? They have no written history? Yeah. Now, what they did have was a covenant with nature. And if you think about certain things, is that if everything is perfect for you, you have food, you have shelter, you have water, and you have a means of existing, what would be your goal to go further? What would make you have to go, hey, this is really bad. you know, we're going to freeze here unless I build, fire and a fireplace and, do this. But they didn't have that problem. They had food that they could go out and find. They had food and the ability to hunt. So I don't hold that they didn't have a written language, or they didn't have, they didn't know how to use stone. They didn't have the wheel, because actually they had no need for any of it. To them, they were in balance. It was like the Indians, too. They didn't have a wheel. They didn't have any of that stuff. They didn't have a written language. But to say that white men can't invent anything, yeah, that's a stretch, Reed. And everyone should just stay away from this person because she is crazy toxic. Crazy, crazy toxic. And anyone else would go, don't even let her into the front door. But because she's black and because she's a woman, they let her get away with it. Where anyone else, they'd have a real problem. They go, you're not working here. We're not going to give you a platform to go out there with. We're not doing that. We're not going to give you sponsor endorsements. We're not going to do that. And yet they endorse her. I think that any company that endorses her, they need to be boycotted. Yeah. Sure, she has the right to be racist. I get it. Consequences for it. So, all right. Good 10 minutes on that. In other news today, Tulsi Gabbard revokes the security clearance of 37 current and former national security officials. Not big news in itself. Every administration has pulled back clearances on people that were in former administrations. This isn't anything abnormal. But those impacted people who were involved in conducting an assessment of Russia's effort to influence the 2016 election, as well as members of former President Joe Biden's National Security Council, according to a person familiar, had their security clearance yanked. And the person noted that most intelligence professionals impacted by these are not household names. Well, why would they be? Why would they be household names? So it's a non-news type of thing, and the DNI memo accused impacted individuals of their politicalization and weaponization of intelligence to advance personal, partisan, or non-objective agendas inconsistent with the national security priorities. It also accused individuals of failing to protect classified information and unprofessional intelligence assessment tradecraft. Now that's interesting. Right there, that last one, to protect classified information. Because if you purposely left a memo out on your table and walked away and it was top secret and that thing was for your eyes only or for a list of people, and now anyone had it and someone else gets a hold of it, well, you were not doing your job. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't like it got put into the wrong folder or, it slipped out of a folder and went, down the side of a desk and you just didn't recognize it. When you put a top secret folder away, if it had 15 pages, you count the 15 pages before you put it back in the drawer. Hey, I had 15 pages here. Now I only got 14. We got a problem. So if you're not doing your job, you could have a problem. And these people could face a problem. And I said this before, during this investigation, they can't go after the big fish because they've been all pardoned. But they can sure go after the guppies. And when the guppies have information and give it to the sharks, then when you ask the protected people, hey, did this happen? Because they're saying you did that. And again, it's to jam these people up. Well, I'm not going to answer you. I'm going to exercise my Fifth Amendment right. You might not have it. They might not have Fifth Amendment rights since they've already been pardoned for any of their actions. So you don't have an expectation of incriminating yourself. You can't incriminate yourself. So we're just asking you, did you do this? I don't have to answer that. Well, we'll see what the courts say. And what they're going to do is when these guys lie, and they lie, they're going to say you lied to a federal agent. Well, it doesn't matter. You lied to a federal agent. That pardon won't protect you now. This happened, 3 weeks ago. That pardon ended on January 20th. Well, it had to do with that. No, it had to do with now. Today. Or that 2 weeks ago when I asked you that question. You lied. Or you tried to mislead us. Nothing could happen to you. You could tell us, yeah, I gave those papers to the New York Times. Sure. Yep. I did that. I left it out on my desk so people could see it. If they were given a pardon. Nothing could happen to them. So I don't know how much of Fifth Amendment protection that they can exercise and not have that called into question all the way up to the robes. So, the people cited in the memo held positions across a range of government agencies. It's unclear whether all still held an active clearance at the time of Gabbard's announcement. Well, yes, you hold you hold active clearances until you're told otherwise. So maybe they were told otherwise that they didn't have it, but she wants to now make sure that these 37 individuals don't have it. And that's what's going on today. I said this was not going to be a huge, wasn't going to talk for an hour here. And I could. The Texas legislators are back in Texas. And they're going to be forced to vote. You have the one moron Texas legislator who's staying in her office because she refuses to have security take her around, and she's not a prisoner. Well, she could sleep there, I guess, if they allow her to sleep there. Sure, sleep at your desk. Sleep in the chamber. She must smell lovely. And that's what she wants to do, but they're going to hold a vote. And those lines are getting redistricted. And the federal government can't get involved with that. That's already a foregone conclusion. I think in 2021 they ruled against that. They said we have no jurisdiction. Those are state rights issues, and let the state handle it. So a state Supreme Court could say you can't, or, where the federal government would come into play is, one person, one vote, and how the protected demographic area, which got gutted kind of, so That's not going to be the case. The way, again, districting works is I have, you know, a population of 20 million people here, and I got 10 million over here and 1 million over here, and scattered all through the areas, 2,800,000, boom, and you have to start saying, well, I got to start making these by population. And they start redistricting. And that's always been an issue because it goes by population. And then the density inside that area. So they try, and that's the Voting Rights Act of 1965 said you can't redistrict lines that have been predominantly held back from voting, or a community of a certain class of people, by language, by color, that you couldn't redistrict that. That had to be, but you had to give that a district and then divide up elsewhere. And again, one person, one vote. None of this affects voting. None of it affects a person's ability to vote. So when you hear that they're stopping people from voting, no, they're not. You can vote. You're just in this other district, represented by this other person. That's all it means. Now for states, legislators, it could hurt them. It certainly could affect on using that information for House of Representative votes. Yeah. Not saying it wouldn't or couldn't. But shouldn't is in there too, just so you know. Just because you can do things doesn't necessarily mean you should. But they have a right, and the Democrats have done that in the past, and redefined lines in their favor, and Republicans have done that. You look all the way back to James Madison's time in Virginia. Go back, take a look, 1780s. It's been going on a long, long time, folks. So this isn't nothing new. This isn't like, oh my God, this has been done. This has been done. So, your hoopla and all this crying over that, and the hoopla of, Trump sending in the National Guard into Washington, D.C., how dare him. There is an active investigation to see if the crime rate there had been fudged. But that is really they're only looking at like one individual who might have done that. So what, if you take it out through the whole area of D.C., and I don't know how they break it down. Did it really affect the overall statistics? Now, it could have. It could have, if they're not, if they're not reporting what is on the books as crimes. And a lot of these, it's a broken window, it's still a crime. Oh, they stole a car. It's still a crime. And yet a lot of these places, they weren't even responding to a home break-in. You couldn't even report it. And remember, just because you call the police doesn't mean it becomes a crime. It's only a crime if someone is charged. Or there's a criminal, it is a crime. I take that back. Just because they haven't caught someone doesn't mean a crime did not happen, so they can, but a lot of these things, they weren't even responding to calls, this guy, broke my headlight, this guy broke my windshield, they broke into my car, they stole my pocketbook, I got mugged, he pushed me down. They didn't even report it, yet those are all crimes. So, yeah, you had Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden stop the crime. I'm all for that. They didn't. No, you just weren't reporting it. Just like his jobs. Yeah, if they hired people in the federal government, more people are working today than they were. Yeah, because you gave them fake jobs. So, yeah. We know. We know. And it's all coming out. And I just want you Democrats listening out there to know that I did not dislike everything Joe Biden did. He did some good things. I can list them on my hand, but he did some good things. I'm not going to say he did everything bad. And there are things that Donald Trump is doing that I don't agree with. That I don't agree with it. It's not following the procedures that are called out for you to do it in this manner. And yes, can you just outright throw those procedures away? Yeah, you could. You shouldn't, but you could. And that's because he knows he's got screwed by playing by the rules that he didn't have to play by. And now he is defining the power of the president. Not abusing it or creating it. He's defining it. Much bigger difference. Tomato, tomato, right? Bob in New York. And Bob, you sent me something about YouTube, and the page wasn't available, so I don't know what you were trying to send me. And I wasn't going to bother you and call you up and just say, hey, what are you doing? But, all right. With that, I've talked for close to 40 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up. This is, of course, going out live. Might be a little black slug in there, but you would have seen this way before, and either you continued watching or you didn't. And I don't edit any of that stuff out. Unless it's really horrible, It's just me doing it. Lucky I'm doing that. So, again, thank you. I'd like to hear back from you. I'd like to have your ideas. I like hearing that. Some people left me nice comments. Other people, not so nice comments, but that's okay. You're going to do this, you better not have a thin skin. And you better be able to get called out and give facts. And where you've been wrong with it, just, hey, I was wrong. There was something I did the other day, and I said, like, at the 41-minute mark, I had to go back and explain myself a little bit, but I forgot it now. I'll remember 2 hours from now. But I do make mistakes, and if you'd like to point them out, please do. No problem with that. And if it is a mistake and I do find it, I will address it. Either in a little blob up here, actually up over here. I like it over that shoulder. Or, I'll say, hey, yesterday I was talking at the 31-minute mark about this, and I misspoke. I was wrong. Don't know what I was thinking, but it weren't right. So, all right. If you can give to a charity, give to a charity. Remember, charity begins at home. And give what you can. And if you're uncomfortable with that, give to a food bank. Remember, food banks need more than just food. They need paper products, they need toilet paper, they need feminine products, they need products for children, clothes, shoes, anything you can give. If it's sitting in your closet not doing anything and never will get used again, get it out of there and give it to someone who can use it. Check the pockets, but get it out the door. It's not helping anyone in your closet, and you're never going to wear that thing again. Get rid of it. So that's what I have to say with that. Say a prayer. Prayer works. And with that, I'm going to fade to black on my podcast and come up with color bars and a slate on my YouTube live feed, which really isn't live. I need subscribers. So come subscribe. I need subscribers. All right, guys. You all have a good one. Bye.